really good, really enjoyed it, loved the romance in here. We have a bit of a love triangle and everything. All the classic YA tropes is in there. Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we're doing a slightly different sort of unhaul today. My sister is coming up in, well, I actually think just after this video comes out actually, and I don't get to see her too often, but she's recently got back into reading and I have quite a few books that, as much as I enjoyed them, I don't think I'm ever going to reread them. So I've decided to give them to her so that she can have a chance to have a look through, read them, see if she likes them. Hence the sort of unhaul, because I know if I ever do feel like rereading these, I know I could just message her and she would send them up to me. So it's quite a handy way of doing this. I get extra shelf space and my sister gets to read some books. Win-win. Alright, so with that rambly part out of the way, let's go to the different books that I have pulled off my shelves to give to her. So we do have V. Schwab's The Dark Vault. This has the archived and the unbound within it. This was a fun YA fantasy. A lot of this is YA fantasy, by the way. That's the sort of genre that she's really into at the minute, or just fantasy books in general. Anyway, this one I read a couple years ago now. I did enjoy it. It's an interesting one where we have Mackenzie, who is wanting to be just like her grandfather, who was somebody that was an archive for the library of pretty much the dead. So when you die, you get put into a book and you get kept in the archives, and Mackenzie is someone that can go, and any ghosts that manage to get free from their books is able to capture them and return them back to the archives. Except of course things start going wrong. I really liked it. I thought it was a really interesting concept, but I don't think I would ever reread it, and I'm not sure if there is meant to be a third book or not, but either way I know my sister would actually quite like this one. I was in two minds whether to give this one or not, because I do like V. Schwab. I am trying to keep all of her books, but at the end of the day I am getting to that point now where if I'm not going to reread it, then why am I holding on to it? I might as well give it to someone that can get some enjoyment out of it, which is basically the same for all of these books. So the next one is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. This one I read recently-ish. You know what, I'm going to stop saying when I read it, because in all honesty I don't know. I've read them at some point and I did like this one, but I have to admit I did prefer her other book, Winterwood. This one is set in this little coastal town that has a curse where every year 3 boys will die in revenge for 3 girls that were drowned many years ago. I really liked it. It has witchy vibes in it and everything. The atmosphere was great, but I think out of Winterwood and this one, I'm more inclined to reread Winterwood, and I still haven't even done that yet. But this is the sort of book that I know my sister will really like, with the whole witchy revenge thing of 3 women getting their revenge because they literally come in and possess 3 girls every year to go out and drown 3 boys. Except of course this year it goes slightly different. I enjoyed this, thought it was very good. And then we have a series of books, and that is The Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. So we have the prequel, which is Queens of Fenburn, which I really liked. This is a mixture of short stories about different queens that you hear talk about within these books. Then you have 3 Dark Crowns, 1 Dark Throne, 2 Dark Reigns, and 5 Dark Fates. This is a really good YA fantasy series. I've had this for absolutely years. I do enjoy rereading it, but I don't think my sister's read it, so I think this would be a good time for her just to see whether she would enjoy it. We have 3 sisters, but they have been raised to kill each other because there can only be 1 queen. Now, the sisters are triplets. They're born always as triplets to the queens, and then they have to fight it out as to who's going to be the ruler until the next set of triplets arrive. It's a really interesting world. You have different magic as well. There's 3 different types of magic to symbolise the 3 different sisters. Well, there is more, but there's 3 main parts of magic. 1 part of magic is very rare, and I do believe you're drowned if you even have that magic. So yeah, it's really good. I really enjoy this series. I thought it was really well done. You get the 3 different perspectives of the 3 different sisters as well. There's romance in here. There's obviously the fantasy magical element of it. There's a lot. that goes on in this. I really do recommend this series. I will say I wasn't a fan of how it wrapped up. I think it was drawn out a little bit, but definitely the first 2 books and the prequel were amazing. I really enjoyed them, but I'm interested to see what my sister thinks. Then we have a book that I enjoyed, but I don't think I'm ever going to pick up the sequel to, just because I've got so many other books that I'm interested in, and that's The Girl King by Mimi Yu. This is actually kind of similar to Three Dot Crowns in a way, in the sense that you have 2 sisters that are fighting over a crown. You have one sister who's always been brought up to be very quiet, always put on the back burner, never really given any credit or anything. Then you have the other sister who's all fight and everything. There's a whole series of events that happen in this. We have a wolf shapeshifter as well. There's just a lot. The world I thought was really, really good, and I did really enjoy it. I found it in the adult fantasy section. I would say it's kind of a cusp between the two. If you're interested in trying adult fantasy for the first time, this is a really good one to go for. But as I said, I just don't think I'm ever going to get round to reading the second book. So again, rather than me holding on to something for in case I maybe reread and then read the second book, I'm going to give it to my sister because I think she'll appreciate it more than I do. Then I have an old school series, and that is Dark Visions by LJ Smith. This is the bind up, and in it we have The Strange Power, The Possessed and The Passion. I loved LJ Smith. Now you'll probably know her more for doing the Vampire Diaries, but I also loved her Night Wild series. I actually preferred that, and this is a separate bind up to all her other books. Really, really enjoyed it. Now my sister adores LJ Smith. She has all the Night Wild books and everything, and I've just been keeping hold of this one for nostalgia, but I know my sister will actually read this. I haven't picked this book up in years. It's a fun YA series, like all of LJ Smith's books. There is also romance in here, and we're following a girl that can see the future but can only draw it out, and she hates this ability but ends up going to a school where different gifted children are being kept, but she discovers a nefarious plot where they want to use their powers and everything. It's really good, really enjoyed it, loved the romance in here. We have a bit of a love triangle and everything. All the classic YA tropes is in this. It was just so good, and yeah, I've just been hoarding it for no reason. And again, my sister will actually reread this because she has read it years ago. I said that I still had this one and she was just like, oh please can I have it, and I was just like, yeah, because out of the two of us, you are the one that's more likely to actually reread this. So, and then we have a book that I read, then unhauled, then rebought and never actually read, and that's Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. I keep meaning to read this because I do remember enjoying the first book, but again, it's one of those ones where I'm just like, I've got so many other books that I'm more interested in getting to that I think this is just going to sit on my shelf for absolutely years. I've heard mixed things about the series overall, but again, it's something that my sister's willing to give it a go, and for her, this is saving her a lot of money with me actually just giving her books that I did enjoy when I first read them, but for whatever reason have not continued or will not reread. She's interested. This is a world where we have different magic. One of our main characters has the magic to know whether you're lying or not. As a result, she is hunted a lot for this power because obviously it's a really good tool to use in like political things. So she's hunted because of it. You have different magics available as well. Some people have the power of wind and all sorts. It's a really good story. You have these 2 best friends that are always there for each other, which I really liked, and then story progresses from there. It's been a little while since I've actually read this one, like a good probably 5 years, but I did enjoy it at the time. I couldn't tell you why I've never picked it back up, even though I rebought it and never actually continued with the series. Because I was intrigued and I do keep meaning to, but then something else will catch my eye and this just falls to the background. So I think if my sister enjoys it and she continues on with the series, that will give me the prompt to actually pick it up. Then we have a book I was actually going to unhaul a little while ago. Probably not the last unhaul, the unhaul before that, and then decided to keep it, and that's Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. I actually think my sister is going to prefer this way more than what I do. It is an urban fantasy. We have this siren, and she's been collecting debts from someone who would never normally give out this many debts, but she has rows of black beads going up her arms to symbolise each of the debts that she owes. It's very rare to have this until one day he actually comes in calling in for his debts. It's really good. I really liked it. I would say if you liked A Court of Mist and Fury, the whole Rysand vibes, it's kind of like that but darker. I did enjoy this. I keep meaning to reread it and carry on with the series, but again, I just don't. My sister loves Sarah J Maas. She's recently been reading all of the books, so I know that she's gonna like this one. So yeah, I'm going to give this to her rather than me just holding on to it for no reason. Then we have another trilogy, and this is one that I really enjoyed. Again, been keeping hold of because I think I'm going to reread it, and to be quite honest, I would. It's one of those comfort YA series for me. It's kind of like Throne of Glass-esque, but just in a trilogy instead of the massive series, and you don't have witches and things. We are following a princess whose homeland has been conquered. She has been taken prisoner and she is punished whenever her people do anything to step out of line. She's honestly got a really horrible life at the moment. She feels really trapped, and then she starts deciding, you know what, I'm going to rebel, and things go on from there. We do have different elemental magic in this as well. It's really good, really engrossing. I think this book gets overshadowed a lot by things like Throne of Glass though, but I do think it is a good one. I really enjoyed it. I liked the way it wrapped up and everything. Thought it was really well done, but I also know my sister's really going to enjoy it, and again, I'm all about people finding books that they really enjoy instead of keeping this one for those times where I may reread this in like 2 years time. Why not give it to her so that she actually can try it and see if she enjoys it. Then we have a book I adore, and that's Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. She's actually able to keep this one because I bought myself another copy because I didn't want to be without it. This is fantastic. It is a retelling of the Battle of Troy, mainly all about Achilles and Patroclus. It does end with the Battle of Troy, but we have the build up from when both these boys were young, how it all came about, to their friendship and the relationship that they built, then them having to take part in actually rescuing Helen of Troy and everything that happens. It is amazing, heartbreaking, beautiful, adored it. Absolutely adored it. But yeah, I did buy myself a new book so that she could actually just keep this one because it's one that she said she wanted to read, and I said, look, I've got a copy, have it, see if you like it. If you then don't, you can always give this to a charity shop because I've got myself a new one. So yeah, I really hope she does like this one. I'm really intrigued because I would say this is probably one of my favourite books. It's so good. Then we have Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is a Cinderella retelling set in a futuristic world where there's also this disease that's gone around. I liked the setting. Very sci-fi-esque because we have robots and all sorts, and our main character Cinder is someone that has a robotic leg and arm because of an accident that's happened. She doesn't know what's happened to her parents. She's living with a stepmother. It follows Cinderella. She ends up going to a ball and all sorts of things go on. I thought it was really good. This is the first book in a series of retellings, and oh my gosh, love these covers. But again, this is one that my sister was just like, you know what, I've heard good things about it, I'd like to try it. I've just been sitting on this. I read the first book, I did enjoy it, but I've not continued on with the series, and every time I do go into the bookshops and stuff, I see them and then I'm like, but I'd rather get this book. It's just going to stay that way, and I think it's just going to sit there gathering dust. Rather it go to my sister, because if she enjoys it, that's much better. Similarly, to be honest, as most of these books have been, but we also have Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. I did enjoy this book. I thought it was really good. However, I prefer Trisha Levenseller's other books, Shadows Between Us, which is a standalone. Really enjoy that book, and I do think there are parallels between the main characters and everything, but I have to admit I don't tend to read a lot of books that are set at sea. It's just not something that appeals to me that much. I have maybe 1 or 2 books that I've kept with that sort of sea setting. Did enjoy this though. This is a lot of fun. We're following Alossa, who is the daughter of a pirate king, and she's setting out to steal this particular map to prove her worth to her father. There is love interest in here. It's basically a heist story on the seas, and we have our main character Alossa, who thinks that obviously she's the smartest, she's a bit arrogant. It's the main characters that I've come to expect from Trisha Levenseller. I was interested on finishing this to pick up the next book, but again, I know it's going to be one that I probably just don't prioritise. I think my sister's going to prefer it. So there we have it. Those are the books that are going to my sister. We have I'm forgetting a book because it was still sat on my shelves, and that's Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. Don't worry, I'm not giving her this book because I'm not keeping a copy. I've ordered myself the paperback because all my editions are in paperback. It really bothers me if they don't match, but I couldn't wait when this book came out. I could not be bothered to wait for the paperback because it was a year later and I wanted this. I really loved it. It's my favourite book out of the Court of Thorns and Roses series. Probably my favourite book, period, by Sarah J Maas. Absolutely adored it. We're following Nesta, who is Feyre's sister, who you meet in the first trilogy of the series. Fantastic. It's dealing with so many things, and I just think this book focuses a lot on like mental health, on not pushing other people away, on constantly trying to be there for someone. Like, it's just as a lot. Give it a try. If you like Sarah J Maas, this book, fantastic. Sarah J Maas is a fantasy romance author. Loved this so much. But yeah, I have pre-ordered the paperback. My sister's been reading all the books, absolutely loves them, and I said, are you bothered about whether your series match with paperback and hardback? She said nope, she doesn't care about that sort of thing. So I thought, well, rather than this going to a charity shop, she may as well have it, save her a bit of money, and she can enjoy this story as well, because yes, honestly it's been really fun having her thoughts as she's been reading all the Sarah J Maas books. It's just a good time, and I cannot wait to see what she thinks of this one. Again, like Song of Achilles, one of my favourite books, absolutely adore it. I can't wait to get my hands on that paperback because I will be doing a reread and honestly probably annotating it. Part of me does want to keep this hardback, but in all honesty it's so heavy, it's never going to leave my house, it doesn't match with any of the books in this series, there's just no point. So yeah, giving this one to her as well. Okay, so that puts us at 18 books. That is going to my sister, which is nice because it actually freed up my shelf, because a lot of these were just sat on my YA fantasy shelf, and as I've been saying for a long time, YA fantasy is something that I'm slowly getting out of. I would rather she enjoy it. She loves fantasy romance, she enjoys YA fantasy. A lot of these are kind of like, I would say, a good stepping stone between YA fantasy and adult fantasy. I think she's going to like them. And this way, if I ever do want them, as I said, I can always ask for them, so it works. But thank you so much for watching this rather unusual video, something a little bit different. If you have made it this far, then let's put... No, I always do a book stack emoji, but as it's my sister, let's go for the two people that are together. I like that emoji. It's cute and it's my sister, so, you know. But yeah, let me know, is this the sort of thing that you would do, that you would give your books out to family members and stuff? Yeah, okay, I think that's everything. I think I'm just going to start rambling, so we're going to leave it here. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it that thumbs up, subscribe, comment to let me know that you're here. Social media links will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next one.